You're seeing this video because God knows that you're ready. You've been waiting, you've been praying, and you've been asking for a sign. Well, here it is. But before we go deeper into this, let me ask you this. Did you ever consider that the reason you hadn't seen a sign yet was because God did know you were ready? Because God knew you weren't ready? Well, let me break this down. Because I feel like more importantly than recognizing that this video is a sign, you need to understand why you hadn't seen it until now, right? It was not because you didn't deserve it. It was not because he'd forgotten about you, but because he was protecting you from the experiences that you had to go through. He was protecting you from the challenges and the things that you're going to experience, right? He was protecting you from your own demise. And that's why you hadn't seen this video until now. Now, a big thing we have to recognize as humans is we want it now, but we underestimate that growth just takes time. Excuse me. This is called in psychology, the Dunning-Kruger effect, right? This is the cognitive bias that shows that people when we are inexperienced often overestimate our abilities, right? And as we grow, we become more aware that we don't know anything. And thus the yearning for learning increases. And sometimes you think you're ready because you don't fully understand the weight of what you're asking for, right? When you ask God for that new person, when you ask God for that new pay raise, when you ask God for that successful business, when you ask God for that dream car or house, when you ask God for that child, right? When you ask God for anything that you do not have already, you sometimes think that you're ready simply because you don't understand what comes with it. And that's what God's protecting you from. Now, for me, I've thought about different times in my life where I felt that I should have achieved a certain level of success, and I felt that I should have been in a different place doing this, right? But ultimately, I understood one thing that was more important than anything else, and that was God's plan is greater than my plan, right? God's will be done. I understood that sometimes the reality was I just wasn't as prepared as I thought I was. And God was letting me know through not giving me the reward or whatever it was I was asking for at that moment, but prolonging that process indicated to me that I was just not ready for it yet. You know, we always want success, but we never ask ourselves, can we handle the responsibility? We want that relationship, but are you emotionally mature enough to sustain it? You know, we want that opportunity, but have you built the discipline to maintain it? And that's a daily struggle, right? But showing up every day is a key component to all of these things. And we also have to recognize that delays are not denials. Let me say it again. Delays are not denials. They're divine preparation. In the Bible, Moses spent 40 years in the wilderness before leading Israel, right? David was anointed king, right? But spent years as a shepherd before taking the throne. Even Jesus, right, spent 30 years preparing for his 3-year ministry. What's the importance in all this? God doesn't withhold blessings. He protects you from receiving them before you're ready. Okay? He has to make sure that you're a good steward. He's not going to give you something that you can't handle. Have you ever heard that quote? Whereas God will never give you more than you can bear? Well, this is what you have to understand, and you have to reframe the weight, right? Instead of asking, why is it taking so long? You know, why haven't I gotten this first? Why haven't I gotten that? You know, blah, blah, blah. You should ask yourself, what am I supposed to be learning right now? You know, that's been a big growth for me. I've recognized that my end goal is buying and building private equity groups, buying and building amazing companies, right? But in order for me to get there, I had to understand that I'm supposed to learn these things about myself right now before I can conquer that whole field. I have to go through these experiences and find the faith and trust within myself to fully lean into what I know I'm capable of. You know, I have to recognize these moments and these times in my life are teaching me something that I need to know in order to handle the weight of that, even creatively, right? The reason that I hadn't reached a certain pinnacle in terms of following account or audience account size was I hadn't prepared myself to show up consistently. I wasn't my most authentic self, and I wasn't in a place where I cared less about opinions of others and more about what I had to believe in myself. And I think that's the biggest difference. I think that's what's going to shift the tide as everything continues to move forward in my life and everything I'm doing creatively and business wise. And I want you guys to start looking at your life the same way. There's probably a reason that you didn't get that car that you want, the reason that the business that you started hasn't reached $1 million yet, or the deal that you're trying to put together hasn't come through. God's timing is always going to be your timing, because God can see things from a field that we can't even comprehend. He sees everything and he understands what we're able and capable of handling. So he's not going to give you more than you can bear. Whatever he's given you, blessings and lessons, they're because he knows you can handle it, right? And so you got to ask yourself too, what's the matter? I should say this. You have to understand what's meant for you won't miss you, but you have to become the version of yourself. You have to become the version of you that can handle it. You know, in psychology, this is referred to as a neuroplasticity identity shift, right? Your brain is literally rewiring itself based on your habits, your thoughts, and your environment. The version of you that is birthed, the version of you that gets the blessing you're asking for is not going to be the same person that started the journey. And that's the most important thing. And I think that's one really beautiful thing you have to recognize, Your future requires a stronger, wiser, more disciplined, and more faith-based you. And that's what the season that you're in right now is shaping you for, right? So the reason that you hadn't seen this video, the reason that God just placed this in front of you today is because now he understood that you're ready. And you've understood that you may struggle today, but you're building endurance for tomorrow. One of my favorite Bible verses, Romans 8:18. And in there, God says, the struggles of today cannot compare for the blessings of tomorrow. That's it, paraphrase, right? And what does that mean? That means right now, everything that you're experiencing, all the rough lows and these issues that you can't comprehend, is all because God knows that tomorrow is going to be greater. And if you can just believe and have absolute faith in that, if you can understand that you're not being punished, you're just being prepared, you know that God is going to deliver you in the end. And I think that that's a big thing, having faith. You're not supposed to have all the answers. You're supposed to trust God in and out, up and down, whatever the situation is. And you have to understand ultimately, until you're able to handle what God is going to give to you, he's going to keep you in a place of preparation. And if during the time and in that season when you can't clearly understand that, you have to recognize that this is the time that God is building you. If you're not ready, what's meant for you can feel like a burden instead of a blessing. So you have to understand that sometimes you're not getting what you're asking for just yet, because it would be more of a burden than it would be a blessing. So if you've seen this video, if you watched this video to the end, of course, like, comment, subscribe, and have a community down below in my description, and also in my bio, one of those two places. But what I was really trying to get at here is when you can understand that time and chance happen to all men, that God is perfect in his timing, that God knows when to give and when to take away, and that the reason that you just found this video is because now you're ready for all of this. God knows the type of blessings he's going to put on you, and you're ready to handle them. So if you're seeing this video, just know that the blessings are about to rain in, and God is calling you to your higher purpose. All he's going to ask of you is to remain disciplined, faithful, and continue to become a better version of yourself so that you can handle all that is to come. That's it, guys. I love you as always. See you guys in the next one. Deuces.